You know that feeling when the whole room is watching the quarterback situation like a ticking time bomb, and instead of giving the guy who's actually earning it the ball, the coach sticks with the chatterbox? That was Friday night, and let's just say Kevin Stefanski got roasted for it. Picture this. Dillon Gabriel, all big talk pregame about being a competitor, not an entertainer. Those words echoed to the locker room in the airwaves, bold, unfiltered, full of confidence. But on the field, not even close to delivering. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. A fumbled handoff in the red zone, a pick-six thrown behind a receiver, and a whole lot of stagnant drives in between. The pregame hype? It crumbled under pressure. Contrast that with Shedeur Sanders, quiet, unassuming, keeping his head down. No noise, no theatrics. But put the ball in his hands, and magic happens. 2 touchdown drives. Efficient, composed. Commanding the offense like he'd been doing this for years. Not flashy, just lethal. And what did Stefanski do after all that? He kept watching Gabriel, the guy who just melted under the lights, while Sanders, the one who just salvaged a game, stayed standing under the headlights. Not a nod, not a hint. Cue the outrage. The contrast, words versus work. Dillon Gabriel came into that game hyped, talking big about entertainers versus competitors. It built him up as this fiery leader. Only leaders don't turn the ball over in spectacular fashion when it counts. His turnovers weren't tiny mistakes. They derailed drives. Meanwhile, Sanders let a performance do the talk. No flashy locker room quotes. No sass. Just performance. He made plays. Converted third downs. Ran the 2-minute like a seasoned pro. Those who matter, teammates, coaches, analysts, noticed Emmanuel Aiko, ever the voice of reason, didn't shove his opinion under a metaphor. He flat out said Shedeur's calm in the chaos proved his leadership, not because he chose his words carefully, but because his actions under pressure did all the talking. Game flow, defense versus disarray. Here's what makes this so damning. Gabriel had the perfect setup. A solid O-line, clean pockets, a game plan, and still collapsed. Meanwhile, Sanders had to rebuild from the ashes. The Browns' defense bailed him out after Gabriel's mistakes, and Sanders turned that bailout into opportunity. 2 TD drives later, it was like the offense finally found heart. When your backup QB walks in and gives you that kind of momentum shift, you don't keep rewarding what's not working. Teammates talk. Actions spark trust. In the huddle, you could feel it. Gabriel rattled. Sanders steady. By the second touchdown drive, receivers were looking his way. Offensive line showed movement. The group rallied. That's leadership. Not talk, not toast of the press years from now, but real-time ownership of the moment. Stefanski? He sat there watching. Decided to keep running reps. Meanwhile, momentum evaporated. Fans and analysts are having none of it. Once that game was over, social media turned into a roast oven. Hot takes? Thousands of them. Analysts weighed in. Fans erupted. What are we doing? Are we just going to ignore Shedeur? The consensus was brutal. Gabriel's mistakes sucked the life out of the offense, and coach's response? A shrug. Even Brown's legend take podcasts lit up with uproar. This wasn't just a questionable call. It felt like an intentional delay of a transition that everyone knew needed happening. Why this isn't just a preseason quirk. Preseason is supposed to be low stakes, developmental. But when your backup QB practically saved the game while your supposed leader crumbles, and you still don't elevate him, that shapes perception. It tells everyone high up likes keeping the script intact more than winning. This isn't just about who takes the first snap in week 1. It's about who earns the legitimacy of leadership. And Shedeur just earned the nickname the closer, while Gabriel collapsed under his own shadow. Reality check for Stefansky and the Browns. Let's be brutally honest. If this was about seasoning, it stopped being preseason weeks ago. It's now about legitimacy. Authentic quarterback leadership doesn't come through locker room bravado. It comes through execution, through trusting teammates when it matters most, through showing up in the fourth quarter and closing the door. Stefansky, If you're at home wondering why I'm this damn fired up, because this has to be seen. This moment is bigger than a failed handoff or a misaligned depth chart. We're witnessing a clean performance speaking louder than the script you wanted. What needs to happen? We need clarity. We need accountability. We need the Browns to stop playing catch and release with truth. If Shedeur Sanders is a guy who can give this team some life, let him lead. If Gabriel is still valuable, fine, but not at the cost of ignoring real leadership, especially when defeat comes so aggressively when it mattered most. So yeah, let's call this what it is, a masterclass in doing everything by acting like nothing's wrong, and a beautiful demonstration of what leadership feels like when it's real. Gabriel had the mic, but Sanders, he grabbed it with execution. And now, he's the one the whole room's listening to, even in silence. That's the quarterback who deserves the call. And for his sake, let's hope he gets it. Because sometimes, the quietest guy in a room is the one holding the championship. This isn't about Shedeur Sanders versus Dillon Gabriel anymore. It's about vision. It's about courage. It's about whether or not the Browns, of all franchises, are finally ready to stop playing scared. Let's talk Stefanski, conservative to a fault. Let's zoom in on the man under the microscope, Kevin Stefansky, a coach who, to his credit, helped pull Cleveland out of its 20-year quarterback wilderness and brought them back to some level of respectability. But now, he's coaching like a man with everything to lose. You can see it in his decisions. Every conservative call, every play it safe depth chart update, every vague quote about evaluating reps instead of responding to reality. Stefanski is playing from behind, and he doesn't even realize it. You'd think a coach with a front-row seat to a crumbling QB situation would welcome a quarterback with composure, accuracy, and command. But instead, Stefanski is treating Shedeur like a marketing liability. And that's how teams stay mediocre. Because safe coaching doesn't win you playoff games. It doesn't win you locker rooms. And it sure doesn't win you loyalty from a fan base that's been burned one too many times. The unspoken politics of QB hierarchies. Now, let's really dig into why Shedeur's rise might be ruffling feathers inside that facility. Quarterback rooms are delicate ecosystems. There's a reason teams protect the status quo so aggressively. It's about hierarchy, egos, and politics. Once you shift that order, people get nervous. Coaches, veterans, coordinators. It shakes up the whole building. But here's the thing. Sometimes the best thing you can do for a team's chemistry is to disrupt it. Because the truth is, Shedeur didn't ask for the spotlight. He earned it. He wasn't brought in to headline the depth chart. He hijacked it with poise, execution, and back-to-back touchdown drives that expose the soft underbelly of Cleveland's QB plan. So when Stefanski keeps leaning on Gabriel, despite the turnovers, despite the meltdown, despite the locker room visibly shifting toward Sanders, he's not being loyal. He's being afraid. Afraid of losing control. Afraid of changing the pecking order. Afraid of doing something different in a league that punishes anything short of perfection. But what's more dangerous? Letting a young star take the wheel? Or ignoring him until he finds a team that will? The energy shift is real, and the locker room feels it. This might sound dramatic, but if you've been around football long enough, you know the signs of a team shifting its emotional weight behind a new leader. It's not loud. It's subtle. It's in the way guys line up quicker when Shedeur's under center. It's in the way receivers run routes like they know the ball's getting there on time. It's in the way the offensive line adjusts faster on blitz reads. Not because they're told to, but because they believe the guy behind them won't fold. That's not fan fiction. That's football truth. So when you force the team to stick with someone who just doesn't command that same energy, you're not protecting chemistry. You're breaking it. And yeah, it's a touchy subject. No one wants to say, the team's checking out on Gabriel. But you can feel it. You can see it on tape. Gabriel's reps look like obligation. Shedeur's look like belief. And in the NFL, belief is half the battle. Stefanski's PR mess is turning into a culture problem. Let's pivot again, this time to how this looks from the outside. Because while the quarterback drama is playing out on the field, the optics off the field are spiraling. Fast. The fans aren't confused. They're furious. They're watching a guy, cool under pressure, efficient, unbothered, basically win a game with 2 surgical drives, and then get ghosted by the coaching staff. You can try to spin that all you want, but eventually the excuses run out. This isn't about game plans anymore. It's about tone-deaf leadership. When your fans are chanting for Sanders and your press conferences start feeling like hostage videos, you officially lost a room. And when the locker room starts mirroring that same frustration, you're on borrowed time. Cleveland fans aren't asking Stefanski to crown Shedeur the next Tom Brady. They're asking him to stop pretending like they didn't see what they saw with their own eyes. Gabriel's struggles aren't just mistakes. They're warnings. Let's also not forget that Gabriel's issues weren't just technical. They were thematic. A quarterback who looks sharp in the first few scripted plays, but completely unravels under real-time pressure? That's a red flag. Not a yellow one. Not a work in progress. A full-blown warning. And it wasn't just a bad game. It was a bad look. The turnovers weren't flukes. They were the result of hesitation. Bad reads. Panic mechanics. Meanwhile, Shedeur and half the reps handled chaos like it was a walkthrough. So if Stefanski's still holding out hope that Gabriel just needs time, he's missing the point entirely. This isn't about potential. It's about readiness. And right now, one of these guys looks like he's ready to lead a franchise. The other looks like he's hoping not to get benched. The culture is shifting toward stars, whether the Browns like it or not. Let's close on a reality the Browns can't ignore any longer. This league belongs to personalities now, to players who feel like main characters, to guys who move culture as much as they move the chains. Shedeur Sanders is already that guy, and the Browns are sitting on a gold mine, acting like a 5th-round flyer who still needs grooming. Wake up. The league has changed. Fans have changed. The entire sport has changed. Quarterbacks don't just need arms anymore. They need poise, vision, and presence. And Shedeur's presence is so loud, it's becoming impossible to ignore, even in silence. If Kevin Stefanski wants to survive this season with his credibility intact, he needs to understand one simple thing. You don't bench momentum. You don't coach around authenticity. And you don't pretend leadership hasn't already walked through your doors just because it wasn't penciled in at QB1 on day one. Shedeur Sanders has earned the right to lead, not with tweets, not with press conferences, but with execution. And if Stefanski still can't see it, he might not be the coach who gets to lead him. Behind every quarterback battle is a political minefield, and right now, the Browns' depth chart might as well be made of glass. You got Joe Flacco, the legacy vet, a Super Bowl winner who brings stability, but no real long-term future. You got Kenny Pickett, a former starter trying to rehab his image and prove he belongs. Then there's Dillon Gabriel, undersized, inconsistent, and struggling to assert himself even when given favorable setups. And finally, you have Shedeur Sanders, the one guy in the room who brings both upside and star power, who hasn't been coddled, but has outperformed the hype. That's not a quarterback room. That's a pressure cooker. Every rep matters. Every incompletion is a narrative. Every sideline camera shot turns into a meme or a moment. And the only guy who's acting like he's not playing for a job? Shedeur, because he's not performing to impress. He's performing to lead. And everyone else? They're performing to survive. Stefanski's stubbornness could cost him the locker room. At a certain point, loyalty to a decision turns into delusion. Kevin Stefanski keeps doubling down on Gabriel like a poker player trying to bluff with a losing hand. And that might be fine if this were week 1 of camp. But we're in deep now. There's game film. There are results. There's body language on the field. And that body language is screaming. Gabriel walks back to the sideline, heads down. Shedeur walks back after a touchdown, teammates dapping him up like they've known him for years. It's chemistry. It's unspoken. And it's slipping away from Stefanski one awkward quarterback decision at a time. Coaches always say they want leaders of men. But what happens when the team chooses its leader before the coach does? Because that's what's happening. Shedeur's not just a popular pick. He's the one the players believe in. You can feel it. You can see it in the effort around him. And if Stefanski doesn't act on that, he's going to lose more than just a few games. He's going to lose the guys who are actually fighting to win. The business side is watching too, and they're not subtle. Let's not pretend this is just a football issue either. This is a brand issue, a franchise issue, a dollars and eyeballs issue. Nike knows it. ESPN knows it. Even the NFL social media team knows it. Shedeur moves numbers. Every time he touches the ball, views spike. Every mic'd up clip, instant replay fodder. His jersey, already outselling Gabriel's by a mile, despite not even being officially QB2. So when the Browns keep trotting out Gabriel like nothing's happening, they're not just ignoring performance. They're ignoring momentum. And that, in the business of football, is a cardinal sin. Because in 2025, success isn't just measured in W's. It's measured in relevance. And here's the thing. The Browns are rarely relevant. They've clawed their way back from irrelevance through years of painful rebuilds. So when you finally have a moment, a player that gives you juice, you don't bench that. You build around it. Or somebody else will. Shedeur's composure isn't a fluke. It's a blueprint. Let's zoom in on how Shedeur plays. Because people keep acting like he just caught fire in a couple lucky drives. False. What separates him isn't just the execution. It's his rhythm. Watch the footwork. It's clean. Watch the progressions. He's reading the field like a pro. Watch the tempo. He's not just reacting. He's dictating. You don't teach that in 2 weeks. That's DNA-level poise. And in a preseason full of quarterbacks who look like deer in headlights, Shedeur is the one who looks like he belongs. That's not hype. That's tape. So the question isn't, is he ready? It's, what are you so afraid of? Because when you got a quarterback who throws a 20-yard out on third and 8 under pressure, hits the sideline clean, and calmly walks back to the huddle like it's routine, that's someone who already sees the game differently. If you're not building around that, what are you even doing? The media is starting to turn, and that's a warning sign. Right now, most of the media has been polite, patient, using words like development, quarterback depth, intriguing camp battles. But patience has a clock on it, and that clock is ticking fast. You can already hear it in the tone of the post-game shows. Why isn't Sanders getting more reps? How much longer are they going to keep pretending this is a competition? When is Shedeur going to get the respect? And once the media turns, so do the headlines. So do the questions in press conferences. So do the fans calling into radio shows. And once the fans flip, good luck. Because Cleveland fans are loyal, but they're also ruthless when they sense they're being lied to. They've been through every kind of QB purgatory imaginable. They know what incompetence looks like. And they know what a missed opportunity feels like too. The ripple effect. This isn't just about one game. Let's say the Browns continue to stall. Let's say Shedeur sits again. Let's say Gabriel trots out and has another average at best showing. Maybe even wins a game with a late field goal. It won't matter. Because at this point, every single game Shedeur doesn't start is a wasted chance. A chance to galvanize the fan base. A chance to create real continuity on offense. A chance to own a new era instead of backing into it. And if the Browns don't own it, someone else will. Quarterbacks like Shedeur don't sit quietly for long. They either break through or they bounce. And when they bounce, they become the what-if stories that haunt franchises for years. Imagine Shedeur going to a team that actually puts faith in him early. Imagine him thriving. Now imagine Cleveland still shuffling through broken quarterbacks 3 years from now. Feels familiar, doesn't it? Kevin Stefanski's job isn't just a coach. It's to adapt. And right now, he's staring at a rare opportunity, one most coaches never get. He's got a quarterback who doesn't just check the boxes, but rips the whole page out. He's got a young leader, a rising star, a locker room favorite, a cultural lightning rod. And instead of building a system around him, he's letting him rot behind a quarterback who can't even command a second-half huddle. It's not just a bad call. It's not just bad optics. It's a missed moment. The longer this goes on, the louder the noise will get. The more time Stefansky spends defending Gabriel, the more isolated he'll become. And the more the Browns delay giving Shedeur the keys, the harder it'll be to put the genie back in the bottle. Because when you've already seen the future, and you still choose to live in the past, that's not loyalty. That's self-sabotage. Because at this point, what's unfolding in Cleveland isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's a defining moment for the franchise, a what will they do when everyone is watching kind of situation. And right now, Kevin Stefanski is standing at a fork in the road. One path, he keeps clinging to the safe choice in Dillon Gabriel. He defends turnovers as learning experiences, talks about process over flash, and hide behind outdated football cliches like trust the system or respect the depth chart. The other path, he wakes up. He realizes that poise under pressure isn't flash. It's not just a hot streak. It's not just rookie hype. It's real and it's rare. And when you see it in a young quarterback, especially in Cleveland, you don't wait. You build. Because how many times have we seen this story play out? Talented quarterbacks misused, misread, or misunderstood, all because the system refused to evolve. And here we are, watching a 22-year-old quarterback lead 2 perfect touchdown drives under pressure. And the reward? A front row seat to Gabriel's next collapse. How long does this last? How many more stall drives, forced throws, and sideline shrugs does Stefansky need to see before he understands that Shedeur isn't just next, he's now? The team knows it. The fans feel it. The media's already halfway to putting it in bold headlines. At some point, the coach has to catch up. Because leadership in the NFL isn't just about who knows the playbook best. It's about who people follow when the game gets ugly, who keeps their head up after a sack, who turns a 2-minute drill into a moment instead of a meltdown. Shedeur Sanders has already shown he's that guy. And whether Kevin Stefanski likes it or not, that clock is ticking. The Browns can either lead this new chapter or get left behind in it. Because you can try to bury a star behind politics, protocol, and preseason pecking orders. But eventually, stars rise.